Is the lost metal going to be the thing that breaks Brandon Sanderson's success, or will it be the key moment in Cosmere history?
It is fair to say that reactions to the lost metal have been mixed.
Ultimately, the book is good, but I wouldn't say it is incredible.
Oh my gosh, I hated this book.
Overall, as a larger Cosmere fan, I am absolutely floored.
It starts to be a little bit middling with some of its successes, I would say.
But up front, I just want to declare that Sanderson has done it again.
The remainder of this video includes major spoilers for all of Mistborn, including the lost metal, and minor spoilers for the rest of the Cosmere.
From now on, the gloves are off.
My God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
The gloves are coming off. What does that mean for us?
Bare knuckles.
Bare knuckle sandwiches. It means that the Cosmere comes from the background into the forefront of Brandon Sanderson's stories. And so this can be a good thing. Some people are afraid of this. Some people did not like this at all. Some people, as you saw in the review section, some people loved it. So how did you feel? And this video is sponsored by... us. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, and you're back to the show.
So I really liked it. I liked all the Cosmere stuff. I thought it was a lot of fun. I, like probably many of you, didn't know quite what... I mean, I knew Aethers were sort of a thing, but didn't know anything. I haven't read. I got my copy of it and have started it. I need to put it on a Kindle so I'm not trying to scroll through stupid Google document. But anyway, I haven't read Aether of Night, and so I don't have any framework other than the word Aether, right? And so the whole Twin Souls thing was a little bit, I don't know that I would say it was jarring, but it was a little bit like, okay, I don't really know. I'm excited, intrigued, and this is cool, but there was less connection there. I loved all the other stuff. I loved seeing Shy in there. The one thing I was sad about with Shy in there is I really wish that we could have seen Shy and Wayne interact more. I loved the little moments, like the little moment when Mercy was like, "Oh, you better be careful because he's gonna figure you out," and whatever. I loved that little moment, and I think the two of them being able to read a room would have been amazing together. So yeah. I thought that was really cool. The one I have seen some people critique that as being the whole scene of being kind of like the Avengers Assemble sort of a thing, but without background. So essentially Eternals, right? There you go. And and so I have seen people feel not so great about that. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think if you've read in the Cosmere, I disagree wholeheartedly. But if you've only read Mistborn, I can see that pretty well. But
speaking of Avengers, and glad you said that, that is the thing that I'm most excited about. I think that it's really cool that he is basically doing the whole Avengers thing, but in book format.
Right.
I think the ability for us to be able to see all these different universes come together. Now, obviously, you have to be caught up on everything. You have to read everything. You have to read all of them. And if you're a solo book person that likes solo series, like I like to read my 3 books, my Lord of the Rings, well, whatever. Not going to
Stormlight only, or
my Stormlight only,
or
my Mistborn only.
Yeah,
you're not going to like, what he does from here on out, probably, because it's like I'm lost for half the book, which is probably what it felt like.
It's probably going to be worse and worse as far as that's concerned.
It is going to get
or
worse.
Better and better.
depending on your viewpoint. So speaking of that, how did you feel about Stormlight? Mistborn Era 2 as a whole
chunk. This is a cap. So Mistborn Era 2, it's this is kind of, for me, this is one of my negatives with this book. And I don't know if it's as much negatives with the book. I felt like with this book that it didn't feel like a real ending to Mistborn. It was an ending both metaphorical and and actual to Wayne, you know. And I loved the ending of this book, and we probably we'll talk about some of that. And we kind of get to some favorite moments and some other things like that. We kind of talk about some more specifics from the book, but so I liked the ending of the book, and I thought it was fitting for Wayne and stuff. But I didn't feel like this really wrapped it up. Like Mistborn Era 1 was nice and it was tight, and it had some issues, you know, in Mistborn Era 1, but it was a nice, succinct chunk.
And not only just the whole era, but the first book. That's what I loved about it.
Well, true,
the
yeah.
first book could have been read by itself, and that's all you read, and it's great.
Right.
And the whole first era can be read by itself. It's all you read, and it's great. Now, this second era as a whole, the first 3 books felt like it probably could have been read without the first.
Yeah,
the first
you
Mistborn.
would have gotten more enjoyment, but
yeah,
yes.
But it could have been read. So, but then you add this 4th book on, and it's like, okay,
you now not only have to have read those, but you also have had to read these too.
Yeah, you're not gonna like it near as much. So
yeah,
that definitely is a problem.
I felt like there were a lot more loose threads, and I'm okay with that. You know, I did not want like a Harry Potter ending, and we end up at the bus station and then epilogue, and everybody live happily ever after, and look, they've got kids now and whatever else, and this nonsense. I didn't want that either.
But there were so many pieces that he did not finish,
and it felt like this, and part of it I think is because, and you know, we got this from the keynote a little bit, the spoiler stream or whatever, I don't think he really knew exactly what he was doing with Era 2. Like, you know, he planned to write a book because he needed a break from writing Wheel of Time stuff. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to write these other books. And then it's like, okay, well, I need to finish this. And so now there's this other thing, and I'm going to make it work by making it mirror the first book. And I do think he did really well. And I think there was a lot of masterful things done with that. It just, this entire era, although I loved it, I loved it a lot. The characters were really good. I felt like it didn't, like this entire era felt like a setup for the next era, and for the future of the Cosmere in a way, which I'm okay with. But it makes me more nervous a little, because how is that going to pay off? Are we ever going to, you know, it's like we kind of just started Maricy's story, and so I'm hoping we continue that.
Yeah.
You know, I could be okay with Wax and Wayne's story, not Wax and Wayne, Wax and Steris, their story being over. I think that's fine. I think I would love to see more of Steris, but I think it's acceptable for me personally. Like I think there's some closure as she's kind of grown. But there's a lot that just wasn't the whole Southern Continent thing.
So much as a character, though.
Steris.
I really don't want to see her. Like, she's an imperfect character, and her growth was so good, and of course, I guess there's not a whole lot of growth left to go. But I don't know. Maybe it's just my dislike of Maricy at this point, which is really funny, because when I started Era 2, I loved Maricy.
Yeah.
But
see, I really like where Maricy's character went in this book. I liked her striking off and having to make essentially the same. Well, I won't say that's because we keep in minor spoilers for the rest of Cosmere, but I liked her having to decide how to be true to her morals and whatever else, and whether she was going to go with the Ghost Bloods and do that, or whether she was going to do, you know, what exactly that was.
Ending was good.
And I think, and that's my problem with Maricy in this book, is it's basically we set up Maricy for this great arc of things, and you know, and I think, and he could do a novella or something like that, I guess, but
to finish her off.
But I think it's gonna. I would like more than that with her character. I agree with you. I love Steris in this book a lot. I just really wish we had her more on the page. Yes. She was such a shining star in Bands of Mourning, and just really fell in love with her. That I wished we had her on page more. I loved what he did with her. Like a string of dominoes, Brandon is setting up something brand new for us and for himself and all of those things. And hit, and that is, and we keep tying back, and even off camera, Jonathan especially, but both of us keep bringing up the whole idea of the gloves coming off, right? And this being a big deal. And, I think we'll probably make another video just talking about that and why this lost metal is important, and that being one of the reasons. But he is setting up the stage for a major shift for how he writes things and all that. And so this is going to be either super popular or really not popular. And by the noise in the crowd in that room, and by some of the other things online, I think there is a ton of people who are really excited about this change. And that being the fact that from this point on, you're gonna kind of have to read the Cosmere.
Everything, or
and that's gonna turn a lot of people off. And here's the thing with that is, in my opinion, that is a good thing. Really good art is art that is absolutely loved by some people and absolutely despised by others. And that is truly good art. Is by its nature polarizing, I think. And so I think this is a really good thing. I'm excited and nervous about it because I end up having to have or hear nasty conversations online and whatever else. But what are your thoughts about all this thing?
Very similar to yours. You said at one point when we were off camera that you were just nervous because solo book series people or solo book people are going to have a really big problem with this. And my point was that he's not the author for them anymore, unfortunately. I think at this point it's almost the same thing. It's almost, and it's a little bit different obviously because there's going to be a lot more books hopefully, but it's almost the same thing as Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is a big undertaking to read. You have to be in it for the long haul if you want to get all the way through it. And so Brandon's almost needs to be looked at like this is one giant A series. I mean, you have to be in it for the long haul to catch up, to be able to get all the inside jokes and the funny things and the character growth and all the different things that are going to happen. I think it's going to be really good. There obviously could be downfalls, and if he isn't careful in cleaning up and making sure that he does give proper page time and tying off things, like he basically, as long as he learns from this book the things that were wrong with this book and the things that people didn't like as just a generic, not necessarily because we didn't like it because of the Cosmere stuff, that's who cares about that. Those people are just not going to like these books going forward. But as long as he learns from the whole things that he did kind of mess up, where he didn't finish off storylines or where he didn't finish off plot or he didn't get, certain things accomplished that he should have done. I think it's going to be great, and I'm excited about it.
One thing I will point out that I've said several times off camera, I have avoided commenting anything like this on any like Facebook groups or anything because I'm afraid that it'll come off more like grumpy pants than I really am meaning to be. But in my opinion, now it's hard for me to say this fully because I have read all of the Cosmere, some of it multiple times, whatever else, and whatever else. So I have, and so I'm biased, and so taking that into account, I do really think I don't think you could read The Lost Metal by itself as its own book, and I don't know that you could really read just Era 2. Well, you could do that too, actually. I think you could read only Mistborn all the way through Lost Metal and still enjoy it. You may feel a little bit of the frustration, like I mentioned. I mentioned like Eternals a little bit, but we're talking about a chapter. And a little chunk of another chapter. And that's all we're talking about. And really, now of course I did tell Jonathan that reading The Lost Metal, I was a little bit eye-rolly and a little bit early-ish in the book when it felt like for a little while on the first read through that it was just kind of like, oh yeah, and the Cosmere, and then this is happening in the Cosmere, and then oh by the way, we're in the Cosmere. It's like I don't know how many times the character said in the Cosmere or the
Wayne
Cosmere
and somebody, and I was
well, and then Sazed and then Moonlight, and then I mean just like there was this chunk of things where it's just like,
okay,
we get it. The gloves are off. Dang it, we get it. So there was a little clunky, but I mean, so other than that, maybe, but I mean. At this point, and if you've read Wax and Wayne series, I mean, you should be aware that this happens within a larger universe. But I think you could enjoy it without. I mean, you wouldn't have any connections to those few characters. Now there may be a time where that's not true anymore. But I think at least this point, I don't see why that. I mean, and you get to be turned off by whatever you're turned off by. That's. I mean, I get that for sure. I'm not stressed about that at all. But I think you could read only Mistborn and be okay. You wouldn't enjoy it as much, but that's always been true. This is just a little more blatantly so.
Yeah.
And so I still have that opinion. So what was your favorite or some of your favorite moments or things from this book? We clearly like this book a lot. So what did you like about it?
I don't want to be the guy that uses the biggest part of the book for his favorite moment, but the scenes and thought processes of leading up to Wayne's death, like all the little tiny like points made, like I can't even remember what the one was that you said that I didn't even catch. It was something about a hat or something.
So the very first moment that I realized in this book that Wayne is going to die. He's going to be. I mean, we kind of. I mean, he was. We made the joke. We made the funny joke about it being Steris or whatever. Neither of us were real serious about that. But yeah, so it made sense. But anyway, the first moment in this book that I was like, oh crap, yep, Wayne's gonna die, was when I don't even remember what they were doing, but Wax and Wayne were kind of at the beginning. They were walking through some stuff, and Wayne looks around and he says, "Does this kind of look like a canyon?" Or whatever, and which was they clear callback to the, and he had made, and on a I'm not quite finished with a reread / listen. Actually, the second time I pretty much just listened. The first time I switched back and forth, but I realized that there were even more or tells before that. But that was the first moment that I noticed. Then it's like,
It was a callback to what?
Did I not say that? The prologue.
He got rabbit trailed.
Yeah, I did. That would never happen.
Rabbit trail.
Rabbit trail up the rabbit trail.
So it was what? It was a callback to what?
The prologue. I did say
prologue.
that.
The prologue. It was callback.
Now he's rabbit trailing.
No, anyway, I freaking loved it. His whole closure and the way that he used the magic system to finalize and keep a bunch of other people from dying was awesome.
He did have another Deus Ex Duralumin moment.
Yeah.
He's kind of liking that trick.
He does like that.
Max, I think,
that's what I thought. Anyway, the scene where Max is like sounding like Wayne was priceless for me. Thinking about Wayne being the person you look up to as a child when you're growing up.
Right. Well, especially since we've seen Wayne as a child now.
Yes. It was hilarious. And then going back and forth between the two accents with Mark Kramer.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I love his reading, but
he does a great job.
His tell on it, it was hilarious. Any other?
Well, that reminded me of in the prologue. That was the first laugh out loud moments. It's where he's reading with his mom and whatever else, all those things.
Oh yes.
Oh, bloody hell, Wayne! Hey, play no boring hell then.
You just said a bad word.
Yeah. It's okay when you're telling story.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh, that was a very funny.
It was
thing.
good. It was a needed thing and some brevity. And then I also liked the closure with.
Yeah, that's Wayne the last time I saw her.
Wayne, well, that too.
Oh, Wayne being the hero,
a millionaire. No, I was thinking.
Oh,
like,
that too,
being
yeah.
a millionaire and going and basically giving all of his wealth to this woman that he caused so much pain for her dad dying, right?
Yeah.
Dad, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, and that is one thing that could be a pro or a con in a lot of ways. I mean, this book really was, and I've talked about this before off camera, that this book very much was Wayne's book, period, full stop.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's one of the reasons, you know, a critique I've seen, it didn't bother me, but the more I thought about it, reading other people's kind of comments about it, the more I thought, you know, that I see where they're coming from. You know, people have talked about the whole scene with where they're stopping I guess it's a perpendicularity or whatever else with the pool of energy and the whatever else. I guess that's what, I don't know, something like that, where the army of red and gold is coming through, and then you've got all these mistings over here with that now and that don't have any, and basically don't hardly have anything to do except suck up the power and whatever. So there, you know, it kind of felt like we're leading to this big battle, and we got nothing.
Yeah.
And so I've heard people talk about that, and that didn't irritate me as much. But I think one of the reasons why we didn't spend more time with that is because we spent so much time with the funeral of Wayne, essentially. I mean, the saying goodbye to Wayne, you know, because we spent, and that's, I mean, there's all these things, you know, him and Wayne and Wax sitting there drinking the Ruff's beer, and we had all these moments that were put in there specifically as Wayne's send off, and so, you know, I could see the case being argued that too much time was spent on Wayne. I loved it. I really enjoyed that. I thought, I loved the whole he's a millionaire thing. I loved that was a theme that you see really early on in this book. It is one of my favorite things about this book was this whole theme of identity, essentially. This theme of, and not just identity, but being who you are and who you've been made to be, and not trying to be who somebody else is. You know, that's been Maricy's art all along. Yeah. You know, and whatever else, and we're not just pushing on you to be, but try, and whatever else, and Maricy being the strength. You know, we've joked before. You know, like from Wheel of Time folks or whatever. You know, Wheel of Time show. You know, the girls don't have to be Taviran to be special and important and good and awesome and amazing and whatever else, you know, and what Maricy doesn't have to be Dawn Shot 2.0 to be, she has to be Maricy, and the best Maricy she can be, and we see that with Steris. And we haven't even talked about how there's a lot to say. Sorry, this is liable to be a little bit longer review than we haven't done any reviews on Era 2, so you know, there's a lot of words that need to be said out loud, but not Wayne. That would have been a disaster. Wax and Steris's love story is the best one that Brandon has.
Love story.
Their anti-love story
was
hilarious.
Hilarious.
That's more the last book. But yeah, Wax. That was such a good and beautiful. Wax in this, you know, we saw it building, of course, in Bands of Mourning, and that was beautiful. I loved it there. And then we got to see just the perfect picture of a healthy husband and wife team, true helpmates for each other, and working and allowing their strength, the strengths and weaknesses to complement, and building up and entering their space with him. Wax spending time
trying to become something they're not.
Exactly.
Or something that somebody else is.
It's just that theme was great.
Yeah.
Really great.
Yeah. So dislikes.
Yeah. What did you not like in this book?
I honestly can't think of anything else.
I think I had more negative thoughts than you did, but
got more thoughts all in general, I guess. There was nothing other than a little bit of like, I guess I'm probably in the crowd that I hadn't read The Emperor's Soul, and I hadn't read Elantris. I have since finished Emperor's Soul, and I'm halfway through Elantris, or a little bit less. So I was in the crowd that didn't have all of the clues to all the things happening behind the doors.
Most of them, but not.
But I did. I am finished with everything else. I've read every other Cosmere book. Minus
the novellas, right?
Yes, yes. But anyway, so I had a general clue, but there were some things that I got lost on. But it did not bother me because I knew I guess probably because I heard him say the gloves are coming off, and I knew what to expect. So I
well,
knew
and you knew you were going to get answers to these. You were in it. You were in it for
in it for the long haul.
And so that's worth saying. In the yeah. Any other negatives before I was going to say something else, but I want to make sure. I think I've already expressed any negative. The main negatives with that clunky Cosmere nonsense was a little bit. That was a little bit jarring for me because it really did feel like we were just Cosmere. By the way,
Cosmere.
This is Cosmere. And so that was clunky.
Well, I guess I do have a negative. My negative was that and I've already talked about this a little bit, but just that we didn't finish off all the little. There was a lot of little story threads and a lot of setup that got
hasn't paid off yet
and haven't gotten paid off. Now we don't know that it won't.
Right,
it could come out in other books, but as far as Air 2 being stopped, being done, it may not.
It felt less complete as a unit. Yes. It really did.
Where Air 1. All those little nice things got all tied up in pretty little bows, just like we were talking about originally. So that would be my only negative.
I mean, and that may be just where we are with the gloves coming off. I do think part of it was a little bit like the Disney Star Wars trilogy, where I don't know that he had a solid plan for the Wax and Wayne series to begin with. I think that's part of it.
And a good point that you just kind of made offhandedly is that it could be that he literally left those open to be finished later.
Well, and I think that's like the Malwish stuff. I think that's very clearly set up for later. I mean, I think that's obvious. I mean, some of it, yeah, okay. That's it felt off because it's like we built up to this whole thing, and then there's this huge reveal of the Malwish and this whole southern continent at the end of Bands of Mourning, and now we still don't have any. So
we just see big ship coming and Wax
tensions and whatever else is happening and whatever else.
That was a funny scene too. Max getting to go pee on the airship.
It was very hilarious. You have children, Admiral Dahl or whatever his name is. So that's So I think I've expressed all the dislike things as far as I'm concerned. The only thing that really has to be answered now is do we think that this book, great things, flaw things, whatever else, is this going to be the thing that stops Brando Sando in his tracks, aka the Cosmere in its tracks, and is it gonna mess this up, or is this gonna be the thing that really propels him to new levels of success? So, what do you think about that?
As of right now, if I know because we've talked about this, before we started this video, we were like, well, can't answer it. It depends, and it's it doesn't but. As of right now, with the knowledge that
that's his Sean voice, by the way.
No,
he wasn't trying to throw me under the bus, but
it's my Sean behind the voice. No, that's not how it usually sounds. But anyway,
usually was that a key word in that sentence?
So, with the information that we have right now, and with the book that we just got finished. I am completely fine if things continue to be this good and better. And I think that's the key is there's been such a progression in Brandon's writings. Mm-hmm.
That's
style, skill, everything. Mm-hmm. And he has gone from Mistborn being great. I don't even know if that's the first, but that's
Elantris.
Oh, okay, Elantris.
Mm-hmm.
Elantris, Mistborn, all these early writings to where we are with
Rhythm of War and Lost Metal and
and if that continues, it doesn't have to be as big of a jump, obviously, because I don't know if he can continue jumping that big every time. But if that progression continues, I think we're in for some amazingness, in my opinion. I think it's going to be great, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about every single book. I'm even excited about reading non-Cosmere stuff because of next year coming up in Dragonsteel, just because
more
of
Brando
how
Sandos.
good his writing is and how well it fits me. So.
Right. So I am cautiously optimistic. TBH. it makes me a little bit nervous because we see big change and it's nervous and it's risk, right? I think he's known that all along. I think that's why he's waited. I mean, it's clear. I thought it was more of a care thing early on, and it may have been part of it. You know, like I don't want people to have to worry about that and whatever else. And it seems clear that was maybe a piece of it, but it seems clear partially is that he and probably more accurately publishers were afraid to dive into this deep. Yeah, the Cosmere is connected, period. It's going to happen. You got to read all this stuff. And so it's a big change and it's a big deal. And I've already seen plenty of negative stuff online and whatever else from various people and plenty of positive stuff as well. And an entire room full of 5,000 some odd people at least. And that was just the people that were there that were absolutely losing their minds over this idea. Yeah. And so I think it has a lot of potential to be really good and really positive. I do think there was some clunky things. This was an early transition. I think there was some pieces that were not as polished. But I think, and a point I've made off camera, and that is that I think a way to look at that is if you look at this as this is kind of Brandon Sanderson beginning 2.0. And so if you kind of look at the Lost Metal as the Elantris or the Mistborn, if you will, of the new age of the Cosmere, it might give you a little bit more hope. It does me when I think about that. And Jonathan brought it up perfectly that we've seen so much growth, and the way that he talks on live streams and on behind the scenes stuff and updates and whatever, it's very clear that he is still very committed to improving his craft. I mean, that's essentially what these secret projects are all about.
What's cool is he's sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
He's not only going to improve his craft or doing that and committed to it, but he's also committed to helping others grow their craft, which is so important. And the fact that we haven't even talked about this, but the Dan Wells stuff, him coming into this and all that, I think there's a lot of really cool potential stuff.
I agree completely.
The one negative or that we can throw back somewhere else, or the one downside I could see that I think is going to be hard, is when he starts throwing a different media into the mix. When TV becomes a thing, and we've got to start this story over. I don't know how that's going to go, because it's never been done. And it may be fine. It may be fine if they just use.
Well, it's going to have to be its own. It's going to have to be its own thing, its own adapted. I mean, it'll be. Separate. I mean, it's going to have to essentially be the MCU, right? I mean, where you have the comics and you have the storyline and whatever else, but it's maybe a little tighter than the MCU and more directly tied to the source material. Yeah. But it's going to have to be its own. It's not going to be like what they're trying to do with Star Wars, where. Where you get a canon and you get a canon and you get a canon, right? And like TV, movies, comics, video games are all canon, and it all matters. Like it's not gonna be able to be that. It's gonna have to be just adaptations. Because that would be a mess if it starts to. I think probably if anybody could do it, the team at Dragonsteel could do it. Their slogan that err on the side of awesome is no joke. I mean, that's. Going to Dragonsteel, and just the more I see of their products, not even just going to Dragonsteel, the more I see of their stuff, the more I am really blown away by not just Brandon Sanderson, but by Dragonsteel as a company. You have an amazingly committed team to erring on the side of awesome and doing really awesome stuff for the fans and whatever else. So I am cautiously optimistic and very hopeful, and I think it's going to be really, really great. So what do you guys think?